DLC.
My playlist, I checked out a game this week called Children of the Sun. This is an indie game that is listed on Steam as a shooter. It's not a shooter. I mean, you shoot, but this is a puzzle game. This is a puzzle game through and through. The idea of Children of the Sun is that there's a really bad cult, and they've done you wrong, and you are a sniper, and you're going to eliminate that cult section by section. Here's the catch. You only got one bullet at a time. So the idea of Children of the Sun is you're a sniper. You're on the periphery of some nefarious goings on, be it a campfire or some kind of flop house or some horrible thing that's happening. And you want to assassinate all the bad cult members, but you have one bullet to do it with. Luckily, you have psychic powers and you can make that bullet change direction as soon as it makes contact with somebody. So this is all about chaining together a kill. You shoot into one person and then time stops and you can rotate the camera, find the next person, shoot into that person, rotate the camera, shoot in that person. Sometimes you'll need to shoot into certain environmental things like a gas tank will make an explosion and kill some people, or a barrel or some other part of the environment. And it's all about figuring out how to chain together one sequence. It's almost like, if you ever played ancient video game, like Light Cycles or Centipede. I don't think they call it Centipede. Centipede's a different game. What do they call it? The generic version. Anyway, the thing where snakes, where you would you were a little character and with a long tail, and as time passed, the tail got longer, and you had to keep going and not interact with your own tail. It's kind of like that, except with guns. So anyway, you're trying to create this map through the environment in a single bullet shot, but it gets tricky in that you don't always see where all the bad guys are. You have to figure out that sometimes they're moving around. So the game breaks down into two phases. The first phase is the scouting phase, where you have a very limited area where you can kind of walk around the perimeter of this environment. Each level is its own environment, and you are given a certain track that you can walk around the perimeter and try to get a different viewpoint. Like maybe I can see through that window, maybe I can see past that tree or inside that car or whatever it is. And you can tag the bad guys so you can see them. So a big icon, but sometimes it's not easy to even find them in this phase. And then when you're ready, you find a good position and you fire your shot, and you have to it goes into one person, and then you got to guide it to the next person, aim it to the next person. And meanwhile, this sort of clock is ticking down of multiplier. So if you do that very quickly, you'll get a higher score. And the game is all about leaderboards. It's all about getting a high score and doing it as fast as you can with as few mistakes as you can. And this game is hard. It gets hard. And it also, I don't love the aesthetic of it. It is very bleak. It's very, it's a dreary game. It's got this very interesting art style where everything's sort of neon-y, blown out of characters, but the world is the opposite. It's washed out and dark and dim and dreary. And it's very violent, and it's very kind of disturbing. It'll the text will be in your face, dead, and it's very, very jarring in a lot of ways. I didn't love that about it. It really leans into that. It very much defines itself by that aesthetic. And so I give it credit for making a bold choice. It wasn't a bold choice I liked, but I couldn't help but be drawn in by the pure puzzle nature of the game, which, as I said, gets really hard. You get to the point where you're just firing the bullet just to look around and scope it out and figure out where everybody is and how the heck you're ever going to do it in one single move. And to the game's credit, a lot of the levels, there isn't just one solution. You could do it a bunch of different ways, and you can be really creative in how you go about it, but it gets really hard, and they start layering on other powers that you get, and other ways that can slow the bullet down. And sometimes you have to slow the bullet and speed it up, and slow it and speed it up. It's like it gets really intense, but a really clever idea. It's something I've never seen before. It's a very original concept to try to just chain together the single sniper shot and go from target to target. And when you do it, when you figure out how to chain together like 12 targets, and you've used a car engine to explode, and then you popped inside a window and then out the front door, and you've like created this very improbable daisy chain of calamity. Pretty satisfying. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty visceral. It feels like, yeah, I really figured that out. So there's a lot of cool in this game. I wish I liked how it looked and how it felt to be in the world a little more, but I thought Children of the Sun was a pretty cool experience, even though it's not for the faint of heart. It gets challenging. I mean, maybe I'm just bad. That's very plausible, but I do think this game gets hard. There were times where I was like, I have no idea. I've been beating my head against this level. No idea how to hell to do this. But then you see the leaderboards and people are like, "Oh, I did it in 15 seconds." Like, I hate you.
Yeah, I'm excited to check. I played the Steam Next Fest demo quite a bit and really liked it. And yeah, I agree with you that even in that demo, the game gets pretty challenging.
Yeah.
I recently got a code for the full game, so I haven't dived into it yet, but I plan to soon because I liked what I played of it. And it's funny because like this is going to be a super nerdy comparison, but hey, we're on a video game podcast, so
yeah.
But like I think the like one shot nature, it reminds me so much of like firing Darkseid, like from DC, his Omega beams.
Oh,
because it's just like the way it like follows everything and it curves at like really sharp, odd angles to just like you can't hide from it because it's just gonna like turn a corner and you're like, how can it even turn this way?
Right.
And it like, especially when you finish a level and you see the full like bullet trajectory, it looks a lot like you're just seeing these sharp angles just like crisscrossing around the map, and you're like, yeah, that's how you got everybody. And there's something about that speaks to me of like, oh, I like that. That's there's something weirdly satisfying about that.
There was a lot of stuff working against this game for me, just sort of thematically and, as I said, visually, and it didn't make me feel good to be in that world. And you're killing like these gross, cult members that are doing disgusting things, and it's just icky.
Yeah, and you're kind of gross too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, your character.
I kept playing it because I was like, this is compelling. This is like just the puzzle aspect of it alone is so addictive, and you're just like, I'd get to a level and I would be like, I can't even find all the people, because it shows you, there's like 6 people here or 11 people here. Like that's how many people you're gonna have to string together, and you're like, I see 3 of them. I don't even understand. What? Where are they all? And of course they're like in the house, and you have to, And one of the cool things that the game does, so I give it a lot of credit for this, is when you tag in that first phase, you tag people, and even if you fail, which I failed levels a lot. Even if you fail, you don't have to re-tag. It'll just let your tags persist through death, which is like, thank you, game. Thank you for that. Where I don't have to go through that whole first phase again of finding them and re-tagging them. In fact, if you manage to like shoot your bullet through somebody that you didn't tag before you fail the level, the next time you try it, that extra person will be tagged as well. It's like, I love this game's giving you credit for that and not making you do all the tedium again.
Right. It's like you already found them.
Yes, you did. We get it. You understand where they are. It's still not going to be easy for you to do this. So, have at it.
At the end of each level, does the FBI issue a report that say it was a single gunman from a grassy knoll? Is that always a single bullet?
Up and to the left. Up and to the left.
You might have answered the decades-long conspiracy that maybe they just curved the bullet in a weird.
I think that's what it is. This lady and her psychic powers is the answer. Anyway, that game is called Children of the Sun.
You can get the full audio version of this show by subscribing to the RSS feed, which you can find at dlcpod.com. And you can support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/dlcpod, where you will get ad-free versions of the show. video versions of the show on demand, and a whole bunch of extra content, like Wednesday's show, paid DLC, including spoiler chats, so much more. That's patreon.com/DLCpod.